Amy Tangerine, and I'm so excited to be here with you at Create and Inspire. I am in my studio in Los Angeles, California, and I wish we could be together in person, but the studio is a little bit small and it would be really tight for everybody to be in here. So I hope you are safe at home and comfortable and doing well despite this global pandemic that we are still in. But things are looking bright, and I hope you see the light at the end of the tunnel. I wish I could give you all a huge hug. I want to thank Catherine and her amazing team for putting this together, putting so much effort into these amazing kits that you all have. This whole event couldn't be possible without her amazing ideas and creative team, and the people who go and make things happen. You at home who decided to do this and make the best out of a situation where, you know what, we probably could have all whined and complained and not gone through with this, but guess what? We're finally doing this, and it is my pleasure to share this project with you. I really hope that you take this time to carve out and create for you, okay? This is really important because as much as I want to impart my wisdom on you and my obsessions on you with Traveler's Notebooks, this is a time for you to enjoy the process, document your memories, have fun along the way, and if you have any doubts or bad thoughts about any of this, like you can't do it or mine doesn't look good, I wish I was there in person to say, no, you're doing great, and it's okay if you mess up, and I mess up all the time. So that's one thing I really want to encourage you to do is keep creating, okay? It's all about creating, and it's all about crafting a life you love, and I truly believe that every single one of us, you have the power within you to craft a life you love on your own terms. Crafting a life I love means infusing creativity, fun, and intention into the everyday. For you, it might be different, but guess what? We all have permission and the power within us, and it's a philosophy I will stand by. You in the creative community, you know this. This is the truth. Our days are filled with all kinds of things, but one of the great things to come out of this pandemic, I have to say, is complete clarity and bringing into focus what truly matters most. I just love that we get to connect in this way because I miss you so much, and I miss giving hugs, and I miss laughing with you all, but I'm so grateful to be here and can't wait to share my project. I want you to know that even though I go step by step on how I created the book, you can do whatever you'd like. I just encourage you to take this time that you've set aside for yourself and really enjoy the process and make something, okay? Make something that lightens you up, that can brighten your day, and that you can share with others if you'd like. If you want to share what you've made, please share it with me too. I would love to see your creations. I'm just excited to be here with you all because you're amazing. You're amazing, amazing, amazing. And do you like my rainbow nails? It was supposed to be a rainbow like this. If you don't know already, I have a YouTube channel, Amy Tangerine, and I'm active on Instagram, Amy Tangerine, so come say hi. And I really can't wait to see what you create with this kit. Let's get to it, shall we? Inside your colorful kit, you will find this custom-made notebook, which was created exclusively for this workshop. I'm so excited to use it, and if you've never tried Traveler's Notebooks before, no worries. Grab the two cut-apart papers, and you'll want to cut the tear strips off first, as well as the squares. You obviously want to make sure that the squares are cut as close to the lines as possible, by maximizing them, but don't get too concerned if you just did what I did and you cut off the tear strip and you have a little piece there that you need to trim off too. I don't think that this needs to be perfect. Ideally, if we were together, I would encourage you to actually give yourself a lot of grace and don't worry about measuring completely perfectly. In fact, I don't typically measure when I create, and I sometimes don't even measure when I'm trying to teach workshops and tell other people what to do, because I really find that aesthetically, if you are copying my project exactly, I would like you to have a range, okay? You don't have to grab a ruler every time and say, okay, it's exactly 4.25 inches or 21 centimeters or whatever the measurement is, away from this other thing. So then I have to glue it right in that particular spot. I'm very easygoing when it comes to creating. I'm sure those of you who know me and know my style know this about me. And for those of you who have been following along with the American Crafts journey, I am on my, Picnic in the Park was my 19th collection. And it was such a pleasure, the whole journey, and creating and meeting amazing people along the way, seeing what you all used my collections for, and how you put your own creative spin on it was truly the highlight of making these anyway. So Together is my favorite place to be is going to be the title of the book. So it's going to appear on the cover. So same thing, cut your tear strip off, and then this cut apart paper is a little bit different. So you can see that you'll cut that first, and then you'll move it over to cut below the 4 squares. You don't have to be completely efficient in your cutting either. You can take your time. The reason I like to cut it out this way and do it all at once is because it seems to be easier to see. I like to spread all my stuff out too. And then that way I can choose what I need to use or what I would like to use and get a good big picture of everything sort of all together. I happen to be a little bit of a messier scrapbooker. I'm not sure about you, but I tend to like things so that I can see them on the table. So sometimes it feels like it's scattered about, but in my mind, I visualize it better. I'm able to open up different creative wavelengths, I think, by seeing it as a mess. I know some people need to clean up as they go along, but I'm not one of those people. In fact, if I could have an assistant just sort of be next to me, talking, of course, and having an amazing conversation, but also to put thickers back in their packages. And you could fold this piece and you could have it be something that you opened up in your notebook if you'd like by gluing down just one side, but I decided to just cut it apart. So that's another thing with cut apart papers is that you can do different things to them if you want folding areas and whatnot. I suggest grabbing your photos. These are 4x4 prints from Persnickety Box, and I love them because they are a really good size, very high quality, and I get them every month if I remember to put my photos in the app. So looking through the photos that I have, it's really just about 2021 for the most part. We moved into a new house. You can make your notebook about anything. It could be a general subject. It could be something specific. It could be trips, photos that you like to take. These double-sided papers are also included in your kit. And I love the colors of the rainbow, obviously. If you are more partial to using just a few colors, that's fine. What I like to do too is imagine that the cover is going to be a work in progress. And sometimes I treat my traveler's notebooks this way too, where it's not completely done or finished because it's an ongoing work. And that makes me a little uneasy sometimes, but I think it also opens up the door to freedom and to making sure I don't put too much pressure on myself to make it perfect. But I do like things to be mostly complete, if that makes sense. This is the piece that I'm just fussy cutting, as you can see. And I like to use these cutter bee scissors for things like this. And I cut around so you can see a little bit of the red still around the flowers. That looks pretty good. And as far as placement goes, I think I want it butt up against the edge here in the lower half of the cover. So you can see that I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing to see where it looks best with the hearts. And not all these notebooks are going to be the exact same, I don't think. I mean, I think there's possibly slight differences only because we use the specialty paper from this collection, and Catherine was able to produce these in a way that I just love the spine. And you'll want to grab a cutting mat and a blade. This is a Fiskars fingertip craft knife. So any craft knife will do. I just happen to like this one. Make sure your cutting mat is underneath. And I'm making a cut at the bottom half of the pink heart, as you can see here. So the nice thing about this fingertip craft knife is that it is very precise. It's comfortable if you happen to be cutting quite a bit. And when you first get it, the blade is really sharp, so be careful. I'm also going to make a cut here alongside the orange heart. Now, depending on placement, like I said, maybe all of these books are the exact same. I could be wrong. I have no idea if they're the exact same or not, but you might be cutting different hearts out a little bit, or you might be placing them differently. I think for some reason they might be very, very similar because of the way they were made. But just as a warning, I did not see all, 600 or 500 books that were made. I'm not even sure how many people are in this workshop. Okay, so I used the scissors a little bit there, but you'll want to pop it out, and I'm going to slide this underneath. Oh, that looks about right. And I love how you can still see the bottom hearts. So the flowers are touching the green heart there, and this looks pretty good. I'm very happy with that. So I'm going to take away the cutting mat, and you can see how it's just alongside that edge of the cover on the right side. And what I think I want to do is cut out that blue heart actually so that it can be on top. You don't have to. It's something that I just thought would be a cute detail if the heart was sitting on top of the little red piece. So this one's not that tricky to cut out, although I'm going slow because that's just how long it takes to do. And I'm double checking by going over it one more time. Let's see, when we slip this through, you gotta pop the bottom of the hearts out and place it like so. I'm really digging what that looks like. So let me give you a little bit more of a close-up. Now you'll want to make sure to glue it down. So you'll take your adhesive and just add it to that. Although, you know what I found out is that the glitter doesn't really take the adhesive that well. So instead I'm taking it back off. The Together is my favorite place to be piece. And I added a little bit of adhesive to the back, and still I can slip it through and then stick it down. The fun part of teaching sometimes is that you make discoveries along the way, and you can pass it along to you guys who are taking the class. And sorry, I say you guys because I'm from Chicago, and that's just what I grew up saying, so it's really difficult for me to get out of that habit. But just know that means you in an endearing way. When you open up the cover, you see the back side of that paper, but don't worry, we're going to cover it up and we're going to mask it. So Hello Sunshine is something that I think I definitely want to use in the book, but I am going to stick this Let Your Colors Shine or Hello Sunshine. Both of those are definitely going to be used. Like I said before, you can choose to do your book however you would like. You don't have to do it exactly like this, but if you do choose to, I'm going with Hello Sunshine on that side. And what I'll do is I'll add adhesive to the 4 edges. And sometimes I like to adhere only the middle part of something because I like to lift up the edges to sneak something underneath for layering. But in this case, I wanted the edges down. I'm taking the things are looking up piece, and I want it to be actually in the crease. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it. I don't know if you caught that, but I marked it with my thumb, which is something that you can do too. And so you know where to cut. And then you can add those to the book. You can stick them down. Sorry, I hear Juniper crying, so I'm going to be back in a second. Okay, grab a piece of scrap paper and put it underneath because you'll want the adhesive to be on the edges as much as possible since you're putting this into the spine of the book. You don't want to get it too close, but you don't want lifting. So remember when I said I don't measure? I measure with my eyeballs, not a ruler, and perhaps you will do the same thing because I think it's better to be precise, but not totally perfect to drive yourself crazy. So that's where that is going to go. And then this side will go down with the adhesive as close to the edges as possible too. Having that scrap piece of paper underneath really helps get the glue as close to the edge as possible. And then we will stick it down. Oh, I got a little bit of adhesive on the edge there, but here we go. You can just line it up and then press it down. I like to close my book just to make sure it's in a good spot. Now, I'm adding this photo in the top corner, and I'm going to do that thing that everybody used to do back in the day by cutting out part of their photos. Do you remember that? I didn't actually scrapbook technically back then. I did some version of memory keeping, collaging, all that, but I didn't buy any scrapbooking supplies when it was all the rage back to cut your photos apart. But I remember collaging photos and cutting them apart around people's bodies and heads. So that's what I did here, and it seems to fit very nicely. Whatever photos you guys decide to use is totally fine. You can add a photo here. You can add some pattern paper here instead. This photo just happened to work perfectly for this book. And because this is going to be the intro page, I recommend putting a photo somewhere here, and also in your bag of die cuts, grab the camera, Celebrate, and the heart-shaped glasses. I'm using one marker throughout the book, which is this yellow Uli marker. And I like to have something that flows through the entire book, maybe not on every single page, but it makes it a little bit more cohesive. So the camera is going to be placed up there. You can add your own special touches if you'd like, and you can always add it later, but the reason I wanted to put that yellow down is because I'm looking for something else, but you'll definitely want to grab the camera and the Celebrate from the bottom of the die cut pack, and then I think the sunglasses is in the top. So now, because I want to add journaling inside that yellow window that I've created, I'm going to go ahead and stick the Celebrate down and make up something to write here. And you can choose to write the same thing. You can have a different intro. I love the idea of using pens and markers that you love. This is a Tombow Furunosuke brush pen, and it's amazing. I love writing with it. It does take some practice at first if you haven't done brush lettering, but practice makes better. And practice is fun when it comes to using favorite pens. So if you're following along in the handy dandy workbook, you already know what this page looks like. Except for the fact that I don't think that I added the sunglasses at this point. So that's just an added touch that you'll put in later after I show you where it goes. You could also use a typewriter. You can use your computer. I encourage you to use your handwriting because when somebody else looks at this, even if you don't think your handwriting's nice, somebody else will appreciate the fact that it's handwritten. I promise. It says, let's record precious memories and choose to celebrate the little and big moments in this full and fantastic life. And you can see that I wasn't sure what to do with this little spacing, and I could have left it blank, but it feels like it needs something here. And I could have drawn a couple hearts, but as I was looking, I thought I will find something to fill that space. And I know I'm going to find it pretty quickly because there's so much good stuff in this kit. I hope you think so too. Okay, decided. You know those washi tapes that you have? Yes, grab the washi tapes and you'll want to take out the heart washi, which I think is so perfect for this. And you can grab any 2 hearts that you would like if you have space, or if you filled it up perfectly and you don't want to add any hearts, don't do that. It's totally up to you. I have room for 2 hearts. And normally I don't use scissors, but here I'm going to snip off 2 hearts so that they can be right in this little spot. And I think the fit will be lovely. Another place I want to add some washi is right above the Hello Sunshine. Grab a strip, measure with your eyeballs, however it takes to fill up that Hello Sunshine. If you want the hearts to all be whole, that's easy to do too. Just take your scissors and trim it. I like to tear washi tape most of the time, but in this case, because of the hearts, I don't want any broken hearts, so I cut it instead of ripped it. That looks good for now. Here are the sunglasses that I decided to add. And if you just add a little bit of adhesive on the back, it goes right here on the left side pretty perfectly. What do you think? I kind of dig it. Let's go on to the next page where we have 2 blank spaces to create whatever we would like. going through the process of choosing your photos and deciding what story you want to tell sometimes takes the longest, I found. But in playing with it and adjusting your elements, you can also lay foundations. And so what I'm doing with this piece of pattern paper is I'm making little tick marks for where I want the paper to be cut. And I'm doing it with indentation of my thumbnails. Then I'm going to grab my paper cutter and cut. You can use a pencil. I think most people use pencils probably. This is Feel the Love paper. Sorry, I didn't mention that before. Feel the Love. Those little white marks are meant to look like hearts. I guess they're more like arrows, but they feel like hearts to me. Then you'll just want to cut it. And because I actually don't know if I want the whole thing to be covered, I'm taking a look at where I can maybe put this piece. Okay, so this long piece, though, I think it needs to be shorter. So I'm going to just make another mark and cut it where I feel it's good. Sorry if I'm driving any of you crazy who likes to have measurements, but it actually would drive me crazy to try to figure out the measurements for this. So you're all probably using different size photos too. That's the photo I decided to use, and you can't see part of the paper anyway. As I lay things out, I like to plan it before I add adhesive. A lot of times it gets moved around, and I think that's the beauty of finding the elements that you want to use. Life is Good. I think I want a floral embellishment, maybe a heart. Choose the ones that really speak to you, or if you're following along and want to mimic the book that I'm making, which is great, please do that. I'm going to pull out a flower cluster in addition to the Life is Good. So this little spot, actually, because there's empty space on the photo, I love layering on top of photos as well. That die cut looks like a good place. Then this flower cluster is really fun too, and I want it to be on the left side and the right side. I don't do a lot of splitting of die cuts or cutting of pattern papers to go across the 2 pages, but I like it sometimes. I really like the way it feels. And you could do that with the yellow background too, if you wanted to have that on the other side. But because my marker is yellow, I'm going to make sure that ties in. With these stickers, I'm just taking a look to see if there's any that stand out to me that I want to use. Stickers tend to be one of the last details that I put on my project. I'm not sure about you all, but I'm going to go ahead and glue this photo down because I know that I want it to be in that place. So once I've decided, that's when I add the adhesive. And sometimes I change my mind after that, but usually I just stick to it and make it work. Same thing here, adhesive on the Life is Good, and then cutting this before I actually stick it down. And I suppose you could add adhesive and then cut it, but I don't like to get sticky stuff on my scissors. I've done that a bunch before, and I don't prefer it. And then once you have the left side glued down, I'm going to take that scrap piece of paper and add more glue so I can get it right on the edge to line it up like so. Nice. Something that you'll also want to grab from your kit is the alphabet stickers, and you'll want to grab the die cut that is a calendar. Now, you don't have to know exactly what day your photos are from. I made a general rule not to make anything in chronological order for this mini book, but if it makes sense to you to do it in chronological order, definitely do it, but don't put so much pressure on yourself, because I have this theory that at the end of the day, years from now, it's not going to matter whether it happened on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And if it's 1 week ahead in the month or 1 week later, I don't really try to focus on those details. Unless you have it readily available, that's fine too. But use a die cut if you'd like in the space, but I chose to actually do some journaling instead. Playing around with the elements in your kit, maybe an envelope. These are great because they're envelope stickers, so they can hide journaling if you'd like. And I will be showing you how I use it ahead in some pages, which actually are really fun coming up. So I'm adding a strip of heart washi tape here. And even though you can cut it, you could definitely tear it too, but I'm just cutting it here so that I have the whole purple heart. And then you see that I have this left over that I'm going to just stick down onto the page, the next page, or the back of this page, I should say. Like so. Cool. One of the things that I like doing with these stickers is, because they're translucent, you can actually layer them and they look really nice. But this time around, I chose to use the yellow with the pink outline because I want to tie in that yellow pattern paper on the left there. It's nice when you do mini books or these traveler's notebooks, for example, not just to have one consistent element throughout, for example, the yellow marker, but I also want to try to tie in colors on a spread. So because there's yellow on the left, I want to make sure there's an element of yellow on the right as well. I'm just looking for the letters for January, and I think I'm just going to shorten it for Jan. January was actually the month that we moved into our new house. And I do happen to remember the date, so I will make note of it. But like I said, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Also, with this die cut in particular, it's a month with 31 days, but obviously it may not be the way January was actually laid out. And in fact, it wasn't, because January 18th, I believe, was on a Monday, and that's when we moved. But the details that I do want to include are something in the journaling that would be relevant to tie it all in. When you do your journaling, and when you're looking for stickers that are relevant too, it's the same kind of thing. I would stress the importance of actually just using what makes you happy and using something that makes sense. It doesn't even have to be literal. You could use a strawberry and say something was so sweet. You could do anything that you'd like with these stickers, obviously, but there's so many ways that we can use our supplies alongside our memories to make a lasting impression. I used to want to save all my good stickers or cute stickers or favorite ones, but trust me, alongside your memories is where your favorite supplies belong. You don't need to stress about, oh, but I want to save it for the perfect time. And you may not get to that time, or maybe you can't find that sticker again, or maybe there's just plenty of opportunities to get another sticker pack. I'm all for that. So I wanted to see if I could choose something that I would have on this side and then maybe something on the right side as well. Odd numbers seem to work well too when you're working on these traveler's notebook spreads. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to use too many elements or not use enough. Do what feels right for you. I'm a more is more kind of girl, but I'm trying to be a little bit more minimalistic in my crafting, but I want to do some journaling right here. And I think I'm going to have it overlap onto the two pages. And I'll just do it with a Fudenosuke Tombow pen, same as the one that I used on the first page. And this is a pen that I'm going to use throughout the book. When you choose your favorite pens and markers, you can definitely get the most bang for your buck by using them. I'm not sure if any of you can relate, but I used to save my favorite markers and pens and pencils thinking that I would waste them, but that's not true. You need to use your favorite supplies. So I encourage you to use what you have, and it's very rare that you'll actually run out of ink in a pen. And if you do, that's a great thing. I think that is a lot of journaling written down and a lot of crafting time that has happened. So once again, continuing the yellow marker throughout, I added the strip there, and then this rainbow sticker right here that's clear, I'm just going to cut out 3 rainbows because I think that they are adorable, and I'm going to stick it right on top of the yellow so you can still see part of it through as well as the white paper. Now, I'm going to add my journaling, and I sometimes think of little stories to tell, but because I think this is a unique time that we're living in, January 2021, when we were still in the midst of a global pandemic, I want to write from that point of view, just stating facts. So thinking about adding a rainbow strip, if you feel like it, definitely do that. You could add strip here and then just focus your journaling on the bottom. Whatever looks good to you. Playing around with it actually makes me very happy, and I think that if you're able to use and maximize your supplies in fun ways, definitely do that. Okay, so I'm just going to do the journaling here, and I'll play you one of my favorite songs while I write this down because it's uplifting, and I use it in my YouTube videos sometimes, but it's a good one. Here we go.
Blue skies all the way. We laugh, we joke, we sing. What a beautiful day. Not a cloud in our sight. It's such an adventure, my baby, you and I. Water's crystal clear. Reality so far from here. Never wanna leave this place. Oh, so far from home. No need for nobody else. We've got it all. Life, living so high, living on cloud nine, so precious. No deep thing, living on cloud nine, nine, feeling so high. Color me in bright light. Taste the night upon our lips. Sweetness like a rainbow's kiss. Happiness is life. No need for money. Oh sugar, you're my honey. Such a joyride. You take me to the highest heights. Let's stay here, I think we might. Shimmer me in gold. We're all each other needs for us, my love, to grow old. Life, living so high, living on cloud nine, so precious. No deep thing, living on cloud nine, nine, feeling so
that was called On Cloud 9, and it's by Chris Bussey, Craig Bussey, Annie Drury. I thought it was really uplifting. Maybe it inspired you to journal about something that you might not have thought about. But here is what this says. We moved into open house on January 18th. It was a Monday in the midst of a global pandemic. Juniper was just 9.5 weeks old, Jack 7, JC 40, and me, well, I'm the oldest of our crew at 42. And I think that this is interesting to state. I'm not really sure why. I think that looking back and moving with a 9.5-week-old baby is something that we should probably celebrate. So think about the things that you want to celebrate in your life. Think about the little things that you might overlook or think is not that big of a deal. These moments in between, especially if you're documenting your everyday, it's easy to overlook some of the things that we might take for granted. But I really have learned during this time to appreciate that my family is healthy and happy. It's something that we work towards, and I want it to come with ease. And sometimes it's a struggle, let's just face it, right? But, you may be asking why we call it open house, because Jack went to so many open houses back in 2018 and 2019 when we were looking for a house, that when we got this one, he said, let's call it open house. So the washi tape that I flipped over onto the back side of the page, I'm just lifting it up because I think I'm going to put this photo down, and it's the perfect size, and it has a little bit of empty space on the top left corner. So it'll be nice for the hearts to be across the photo. This was unpacking the bookshelves, the contents of the bookshelves, I should say. We had a lot of books. We were so excited because the bookcases originally came with the house. They're built-ins and they're original. We took one of them out so that we created a little bit more of an opening, actually a lot more of an opening, between the kitchen and what we call the library. And I think that documenting the mess is something that I also enjoy doing. So just the fact that we have a bunch of before and after pictures, and I do want to get those photos printed out for the before and have them showcased in an album that I can have inside the house. When people come over, it'll be really interesting to see what the space used to look like. And I think that if we're able to celebrate these little wins of, hey, we did it. We moved with a newborn, and we are unpacking as fast as we can and getting adjusted and making sure that we settle in nicely while we have the time and are taking intentional steps to creating a home. In the same way that you create for yourself in scrapbook albums, mini books, traveler's notebooks, whatever you have. If you're making cards, I love the present state of awareness that you have to be in to create. It's such a wonderful thing. I know I don't need to tell you about it because obviously you think creating is therapeutic, and there's a reason for your joy of scrapbooking, of collecting fond memories to document and share. So it's not like I have to preach to the choir, but at the same time, it's fun to recognize that there are so many stories to tell. We each have stories to tell. And despite all the struggles and the challenges that we all go through, right? Everybody does. We're not immune to it. I'm just grateful that we are able to make a commitment to documenting our lives in such a fun way. This community has brought so much joy over the years. I can't even tell you how it's just been such a pleasure to meet so many of you in person, and I can't wait, like I said earlier, to hug you one day. And if there was any statement that I think is very general to make, I think that every day is a really great day to create beautiful things. And that might not mean just in your home or just on paper. That means creating memories that you'll cherish. It means creating a beautiful breakfast for your family or for yourself, or just treating yourself kindly and with joy and with ease and grace, giving yourself tons of grace for making it through. Okay, so back to the project. Sorry, I kind of go off on tangents. If you've ever taken a class of mine, you'll know this, but I just adhered this frame down, and I want to put journaling inside of it. And I think it's cool to use as a frame for a photo, but one of the ways I want to use it is to add journaling. But I'll get back to that and go ahead and lay out a couple more pages. The thing about these photos is when you have them printed and you have them in front of you, you can rearrange the elements, and it goes a little bit faster once the photos are there and when you know what to include. If you don't know what to include and you want to play around and split the die cuts or split photos across the pages, you can definitely do that. What I love is knowing that I have this yellow marker throughout to ground the project. I'm just going to use that as a base and then have some die cuts on top and keep this spread really simple. You don't have to make things complicated. Life is complicated enough, right? Let's make sure our hobbies bring us joy and make us feel free and make us feel happy instead of stressed. I remember thinking, oh gosh, I gotta finish this, I gotta do this, I can't leave any blank spaces, I want it to look perfect, it has to be perfectly straight, or fill in the blank with whatever excuse or reason you had maybe during a time in your life when you're trying to push through and create, and it wasn't coming such in a straightforward way, and it was more forced. I really think that there is an opportunity for us as individuals to connect with ourselves in a creative and meaningful way each and every day. And through scrapbooking, through intentional creation on paper, I feel like my soul shines, even if I'm just making it for myself, even if it's something that I'm simply doing. Hello, everybody can do this. Everybody can stick photos and paper down. And even though it's simple, I could add some washi tape on here. I could add some journaling. But let's just lay the foundation of the photos that I want to use and the photos that you want to use. And we can build off of that. That's another nice thing about these 4x4 photos is that you could literally fill the whole page or the whole spread with just photos, add some stickers and embellishments, maybe some cutouts of pattern papers, and you could call it a day. If you wanted to write some journaling, you could. If you didn't, sometimes the die cuts or the pattern papers speak for themselves, and that's okay too. When you're adding the adhesive and you're looking back at your memories, I tend to have a smile on my face, and sometimes I think of the journaling right then and there, and sometimes I just think the pictures are such a great way to pause time. I mean, look at Juniper's face. Look at that scrunchy, funny face, and she had so much hair back then. These cameras are great. You'll want to cut this paper apart. Maybe you want to use the whole thing as a sheet. I think that would really look cute actually as a whole side of a spread to have some of the cameras there. But for now, I just want to cut out a few cameras. I was thinking about doing rainbows, and I definitely wanted to have 3 cameras here, but not sure if I want to do the rainbow spread or if I want to keep it a little bit more in line with the colors of the photographs. Now, I know you all know how to match the colors and make it look cohesive and good, But there's different options, and sometimes it all looks good. Like, I think I could leave it at that, but I see this bird hello paper, this little square, and I think that that would look nice because she's actually got a onesie with birds on it. I think the colors go really nicely. So I'm going ahead and trimming this and cutting it so that it fits a little bit better. Now, because it's rounded at the top, I think I'm going to make it follow the shape on the top edge and just trim it like that. Hello. Hello, cutie. Choose photos that make you happy. Choose photos that you want to preserve and remember. I mean, this is a little series that I just think is so funny because she went through all these emotions. And we have so many photos on our camera rolls, right? We need to print them out. The reason I love using Persnickety and having the box every month is because it reminds me to print out 30 photos per month. It doesn't even have to be from that month. And then I'm able to have photos on hand to create with. If you use smaller photos, you can get a lot more in here in traveler's notebooks, but sometimes it's nice to just have the ones that you want readily available and have it be a good size so you don't feel like you need to fill up the space so much. Oh, look, the plus signs on that side look kind of good. So that would actually kind of work. That's sort of fun. But I think I'm going to go with the cameras instead. Another thing you can do is journal right on top of your photos. American Crafts makes a really good pen. I think it's a memory marker. Is that what it's called? Where you could write on top of your photos and it doesn't smudge. You just have to let it dry for a second. Or you can just take a piece of washi tape and some stickers and put it in the negative space. Smile. Sometimes trying to stick to just a few colors is easy and sometimes it's hard. So there's this rainbow here that is pretty much consistent with the colors that I'm using. So I'm just going to stick that on top and then put the smile below it. And I think this spread is done. If I want to, I can add some journaling under the cameras, but I think I'm just going to leave it and work on the next spread. Once again, keeping it simple. It's formulaic for me because I enjoy creating pages that are just happy, that just feel good. And now sometimes they're not always happy, but with this book, because it's called Together is My Favorite Place to Be, and because we were home most of the time, that is the general topic that I'm using. Now, the fact that they are wonderfully compact and you can record and document whatever you'd like, I also appreciate the fact that you can take it with you when you go. In the past, my top tips for documenting on the go in traveler's notebooks are something that have been, key in my philosophy on creating. And the best part of it to me is having access to supplies and having what you want in front of you when inspiration strikes. So if you're able to actually just have something small that you take with you and you can jot something down when it hits you, or you want to write down something funny that somebody says, you can put it in your phone. I do a lot of that. And then you have access to it when you want to sit down and write it down in your book or in your planner or on a scrapbook layout. But I think the most important thing is just to remember that our memories are meaningful, they matter to us, and you don't have to overcomplicate it. You don't have to carve out a whole afternoon, day, weekend to create. You can carve out 15 minutes here and there, get some photos down on paper, get some words written, use your fun supplies that you love and cherish alongside your memories, and it can brighten your day. It can transform the mood you're in. And for me, because creativity and designing and making things is part of my work, I feel so lucky that it's infused into my everyday. But I also don't want to ever feel like it's a burden. So I have to keep it light. I have to not overthink things. And that's why I'm able to get things done. And I think it also helps that I measure with my thumbnail by indenting and making creases. Oh, look, I found this other strip. So instead of cutting that big sheet of paper, I can just cut this strip. That's another fun part of using supplies and having everything on the table scattered in front of you, is that you see things. Sometimes they go hiding, but for the most part, you see things and you're able to put them into your books. Okay. Gluing these down. This was a precious moment in the morning one day, just on our bed. Jack wanting Juniper to be next to him for a photo, trying to get her to smile. Idea for watercolors for that page, but I'm going to come back to it when we do watercolors. So going on to the next, more of the same with the photos and the die cuts or the pattern papers. You're a peach. I think I'm going to cut this out again. Can we bring back cutting outlines, like fussy cutting pictures and stuff? I'm not sure. I like the way the intro page looks. If you have photos where you cut around it, show me. I want to see them. But cutting around this, and it's funny because it says you are a peach, but I think she's got oranges on her onesie, but close enough, right? And I'm cutting the strips of the side of the card because I want the color to be tied in. And then I'll simply just glue it at the bottom of this photo and at the top of this one. Looking through your stickers, if you find one that goes better on a different spread, just go ahead and turn to that page and stick it right on there. Such a sweet moment. It really was. It really is. I love mornings with the kiddos. Moving on to the next spread. Another morning moment on top of Dad. Waking up with her sleep sack, which she doesn't even wear anymore, so that's kind of fun. Sticking with the colors of the photo, I think I'm just going to have one photo here and do some pattern paper and just a little bit of journaling. It's nice to be able to change it up and keep it simple in different ways. I want to write to her and have the message directly to her. And it's true, she really wakes up happy every single day. We are so lucky. And I'm going to make happy a little bit bigger. I was thinking about using that, but I like the pinks, sticking with the pinks, and trying to figure out if there's a sticker or something else to use. This yellow happy would be cute too, just a pop of yellow, but I'm going to go with pink. So I'm abandoning my rule of carrying the yellow throughout. In the past couple pages, I haven't done that, and that's okay. It's still consistent in the book. And guess what? You make the rules. These are your books. You can do whatever you would like, but I encourage you to do something in them because blank spaces are not meant to be intimidating. They are meant to be inspiring. And one of the ways to make sure you fill them up is by keeping it simple. Don't overthink it. I'm using a Tombow marker just to add these little lines to tie in the pink. And we're going to go with that. On to the next page. Yay! Look at us go. Something that I don't think I reiterated too much in the beginning was the fact that there are so many ways to use your traveler's notebooks. There are tons of possibilities. You can decide that you're going to make a notebook for a loved one. You're going to tell stories about your family. You're going to tell stories about the pandemic or about hopefully something slightly brighter than that. Maybe you're going to take a trip and you want to fill it with goodness. Maybe you're just going to have it be a random book where you fill in things that you're happy with. Okay, so I need a new adhesive, sorry. There's so many ways to use this and really talk about the colorful, positive aspects of life. I thought this Let Your Colors Shine die cut was perfect, or this pattern paper was perfect for this spread because Juniper's got those really colorful pants on with my mom, and I added that little line under there, and I want to put one of these envelope stickers on the page. And my idea is to have Apo, my mom, write something to Juniper. And I could give her this envelope to have her write it, but I'm just going to go ahead and stick it in there because she'll be able to do it after it's in the book. It's not a problem. Having somebody else participate in your crafting and your creativity adds to the wonderful excitement of how your book can unfold and how you can share the stories with other people. One of my favorite parts is actually having Jack draw in my books. It's been really great to look back on because before he would just make, chicken scratch marks. And now he's actually doing full on pretty intricate drawings, for a 7-year-old. but it's a moment in time that you want to capture and keep with you. So I encourage you to ask others to participate in writing or adding something, even if you just add something that they say. If you can't get them to physically write in your book, that would be a way to do it. You can just write down a quote from them or something that maybe they gave you or a little memento. I love to use random ephemera. And since we have been home for so long, okay, I just have to tell you guys this. I'm recording this voiceover in Juniper's room because it's the only quiet place. And I am staring out the window and there's a squirrel that ran across the neighbor's fence, the fence that divides our houses. And it is now just staring at me. And it has been staring at me for about a minute. And I don't know what to do. Squirrels are sort of my spirit animal. I know that people have a love-hate relationship with squirrels. I do too, because they used to terrorize and eat our fruit trees in our front yard. So I have to go on this tangent because I think that this is hilarious. Okay, he finally left. So maybe I said something to offend him. He was staring at me. But I love squirrels. My husband does not like squirrels. Jack really likes squirrels. The reason my husband doesn't like them is because he thinks that they're just rodents. Anyway, and the fact that they would eat our really yummy apples and peaches and avocados and oranges from our trees. He wasn't happy with them. So anyway, okay, sorry about that. But I just had to share that because it was so funny. If I had my phone here, I would just take a picture right now and snap it to share with you guys. But all right, onward. One more side note is that I've also been compared to the dog from Up before. You guys know that movie? Up, where the dog's like, squirrel, squirrel. Yeah, that's me in human form sometimes. I see something, a shiny object or something, and I have to point it out. But that squirrel was staring me down for at least 2 minutes. It was so weird. Okay, back to what I was talking about, ephemera, I think. Because so much of this was during, not lockdown, but during the pandemic when we were safer at home, I really didn't collect too much ephemera. I tend to put the things that I collect, let's say business cards or stickers from takeout restaurants or whatever you can find, magazine cutouts, etc. I tend to put those in my planner now, but I love adding them to traveler's notebooks, especially when I'm traveling. So if you grab business cards or postcards, anything that you can put flat into your book, I highly recommend doing it. Also, adding your own personal touches to this book is what it's all about. These are your books. This is something that you're going to have. And I wanted to add the words for being. So thank you for being pretty much perfect, which I think is something that you can say about a baby. Look at those dimples. And look, I want to encourage you, because your memories are unique, your traveler's notebook should be too. And there is such a beauty in knowing that you're going to thrive and not just survive, hopefully, throughout this pandemic, and we're on the upswing. Cross your fingers. And what am I trying to get at? Well, I guess I'm just so appreciative that we get to connect here virtually and that we can enjoy this opportunity to create and share our love for paper while crafting a life we love and hopefully documenting really fun little things, whether they're milestones or moments that you want to keep. And honestly, her double chin here, I sent this picture to my BFF and she said the scrapbook page title should be chins. No, wait, what was it? Cheeks, grins, and double chins, which is so true. Or something along the lines of that. She said it more eloquently. And I wrote it down somewhere else, but I didn't title that here. Okay, so now that you see the style where it's the elements of cutting out a few pieces of die cuts or pattern paper, adding more die cuts or other pattern papers and stickers to it, I went ahead and spelled this word backwards because I wanted it to fit in that perfect spot, and it worked. And I might add some journaling or some washi tape down here, but if you want to, you can just simply add marker or some kind of mark to tie in the colors if you want, but I'm going to do plus signs. And I love the idea of doing these symbols because it's positive and it's an easy way to make some marks that just adds a little unique touch to the whole layout, right? And look, this isn't overcomplicated, and it's easy to make these plus signs. And if you wanted to decorate the whole background, if you don't like the white papers, you could do that with marks like polka dots or watercolor splashes, which I will show you shortly. And also plus signs, little blobs of whatever you have in your arsenal of supplies and tools, whether they be favorite markers or pens, and you want to make some marks. I find that that process is also very therapeutic. But if it's not for you, do without it. It's all good. It doesn't take that long sometimes to make the marks, especially when it comes to using a larger marker like that Tombow brush pen and doing something simple like plus signs. So I want to use the Pretty Much Perfect sticker again. And I know that I just said that she was pretty much perfect, but I also want to sort of document the pool transformation. I wish I had a shot of the original pool here, but I don't. And it was crazy. It was really old, and basically we had a hole in the ground and we transformed it into well, we didn't physically do it, but the pool company gave us a brand new pool without having to dig the hole, if that makes sense. I mean, we used the shell of the pool, but they took this huge, not sledgehammer, what is that thing called? Jackhammer, and they did something to it, and then they had to plaster it. It was a whole process. So I really want to document the fact that we finally have this pool, and witnessing it and watching the transformation was really a cool process. And it's a plaster pool. It's our very first pool in our whole family. Nobody else has ever had a pool in their backyard. And I'm just so grateful that we were able to do this, especially during a pandemic. It would have been much nicer to have the pool last year, but it obviously didn't work out that way. So I realized that the camera is not focusing on what I'm doing here. So let me see if I can show you a little bit of the things that, okay, so I definitely want to use cool, but I might save it to add with the journaling. So I'm just going to put it aside and start the journaling first, sticking it on my finger, and then going to use the Tombow Furunosuke. Let me know also what your favorite pens are, because I am always obsessed with different types of pens. For thin writing, I like using mine with American Crafts, but I also like using Muji, M-U-J-I, and here is where I'm going to put the cool. So watching the pool transformation was very cool. And then what I want to do is tie in some yellow. Remember, we talked about that before, where if there's yellow on the left side, I want there to be yellow on the right side. And there's an element of figuring out where things go and whether I should put that whole piece down or whether I want some more journaling. So I'm going to use the yellow marker there just to underline that, and then add a little bit more journaling, and I'll probably have to cut that such a sweet moment. So the plaster guys are true artists. It's true. It was such a cool process unfolding, and I think I took some video of it that I might be able to share on my YouTube channel if you're interested, because I think that a lot of people get a kick out of home renovations and the whole process, and I might put together some videos or a little series of how our house came together. So whatever stories you want to tell about a picture, sometimes the photo itself is enough, as you've seen throughout this book, but sometimes you need a little bit more of a backstory. And we're so grateful. Part of the reason we bought this house is because of the view. You can see the Pacific Ocean in the distance, and we get pretty epic sunsets all year. And I think that it is beneficial to our well-being and our happiness that is one of the values that we, I guess, came to a few years ago when we thought, hey, are we going to renovate our current house or are we going to buy another house? And what do we want in a house? What's important to us? And one of the things that was really important to JC, but it wasn't too high on my list, but it was kind of one of his deal breakers, is he wanted a view. And I'm so glad he emphasized that, because it gave us an opportunity to look at properties that we may have not considered, but then it also brought to light the things that were increasingly important to us. Somewhere that Jack could play, and because we had been trying for many years to have another baby and came across several struggles, we also wanted it to have enough space. We had 4 bedrooms in the other house, but we had one of them converted to a playroom. And then we didn't really necessarily have to have a 4-bedroom house, but because we came from that, we wanted to explore that. And because we found out we were pregnant when we were going through renovations, or right about to start the renovations, I should say, then our guest bedroom basically became Juniper's room. So here's a Post-it note that Jack drew on, and it's just a little illustration of Jack and Juniper laying in the bed, as we do in the mornings. Here's another example of having somebody participate and then embellishing very simply. You saw that I just did washi tape a little bit on the Post-it, and then I drew a line next to that other washi tape strip, and then I'm going to add one more washi tape strip to connect the yellow line and the floral washi tape. Now, you may not be able to tell on the screen, but it gives a really cool effect because the washi has these white dots on it. It adds a little bit of subtle dimension, which is something that I love about hand crafting and hand making things, and being able to hold this in your hands and share it with people. Now, here is where the watercolors are going to come in. I love using watercolors. This is a set with American Crafts from Stay Sweet, and there's a new set out with the latest collection, Brave and Bold. It's pink and it has different colors. So if you have this set, you might want to grab the new set as well. But I simply added some water to the pan, and this is the water brush. And you saw that I'm just making the marks. And I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to the marks that I make, but I encourage you to just practice. Don't use too much water. Don't use too much pigment. And just see how it flows. And you can add a little bit more water. You can always add a little bit more pigment. And you can take away too. You can use a paper towel. If you'd like, you can also use this heat tool. This is Zap by American Crafts. And just dry it a little bit. What you don't want to do is put the heat gun too long on the paper because it does warp it and it does do something funny to photographs. So just be careful. Have a little patience when it comes to drying. I let it air dry, and then I wanted to grab magazine cutouts. So one of the best things to me about getting actual magazines is going through them and cutting out phrases or words or titles that jump out at me and that really resonate. I love vision boarding. I don't know about you guys, but what I do is I usually tear out, I mark the pages that I want to have, and then I just tear out the pages, and then I go and fine tune and cut them out. These can go anywhere in your scrapbooking, in your mini books, planners. If you have taken any of my other classes, you know that I love to incorporate these. And this is also a place where I like to do that. So that's something that you can do while you're waiting for your watercolors to dry, is flip through your magazines, cut some things out. You can take the sponge, and I'm trying to dry it a little bit, dab up a little bit of paint because there was a little pool of water there. And I'm growing a little impatient, but I encourage you to use your patience and try not to do it too long because I don't want it to warp. All right. So while I have watercolors out, I like to flip the pages and make other marks. I highly recommend that you do the watercoloring at a time where you can maybe step away and do something else. Similar to cutting out the magazines, you can, I don't know, maybe you're watching a show, maybe you're prepping dinner. While it's drying, you can also, I guess, I hate the saying, but kill two birds with one stone by having the process take its time, and it'll eventually dry. It doesn't actually take that long, but I didn't want to just sit here drying it. I thought that maybe I could show you some other things. So in the journaling for this frame, I don't tend to write things out on a separate piece of paper or write in pencil. I always just start journaling. So it takes me a while to think about what I want to say, but I just write instead of worrying about it being too perfect or sounding perfect. And I encourage you to do the same because really, let's face it, we need to all make a commitment to ourselves right now. And I usually invite you to do that in person at first, and it's to really let go of any negative self-talk or the idea of perfectionism, because you're sitting in your seats watching this to really enjoy the process of making and experience something fun that feels fulfilling to you. So it's really important that we embrace the energy, the sensations, and the general feeling of sometimes being outside of your comfort zone. I know a lot of people get nervous with watercolors, but trust me, it's a little bit addictive to add splotches all over the place. And you could definitely add splotches on the blank pages. You don't have to go back to something that you already created, but I encourage you to just try new things, right? You're here and we're having fun trying new things and seeing where it goes and how our pages are going to unfold. This is the American Crafts pen I was telling you about that I really like, and it's part of this collection as well. And I think you guys actually got one in your kit. I hope you did. They're all black ink. No matter what your barrel color is, it's all black ink, and it's a really perfect tip in my opinion. So let's take full advantage of just enjoying the supplies that you have, not being too hard on yourself when it comes to watercolors, especially if it's your first time doing it, or maybe you're a seasoned watercolor artist. That's amazing, because I'm totally using them in a way that probably most kids try to use them. And I just like to make marks, and I encourage you to take your favorite colors. Yellow happens to be one of my favorite colors. And obviously you can see it throughout the book. You can see it throughout my collections. And hopefully you can carry through something that you love, an element or a color in particular that you love throughout the book. And guess what? If you do watercolor splashes throughout on every page, I think that's amazing. You may not be able to do it in the 2 hours that we have here, but you might. You might be able to get that down if you want to save your journaling for later. So, yeah, this is what I wrote. These built-in bookshelves were one of the things we knew we needed to keep. Though we removed one to open up the kitchen a bit more, we have plenty of room for the plethora of books. JC and Jack had fun organizing and scanning the books from the boxes. Okay, so I also want to add something at the bottom here with the funosuke. And you know what? I just want it to be pretty simple because we start our mornings in the bed with cuddles, Jack and Juniper. And we're so lucky to be able to witness such amazing sunsets. And it looks like in this picture, I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like Juniper has her thumb up. Like she's giving a thumbs up. She's cool with her parents, taking a selfie. Jack was inside. He didn't feel like watching the sunset that night. Don't worry, he hasn't taken it for granted, but I think as kids, you don't really know how good you have it sometimes. So he's like, meh, I don't want to take a picture. I was like, okay, that's fine. So he didn't really want to come outside. It was cold that night too. So we literally jumped outside. JC has a hat on. Now, cold to us is a little bit different if you're, I don't know where in the world you are, but you know, Toronto gets pretty cold. So it was cold to us. I finished it off with the rainbow washi tape. That's another thing you can carry out through your whole book if you wanted to use the rainbow hearts washi tape. Now that we've got to this point, I want to go back and grab the watercolors. And this is what I had in mind after I had put the cameras down. I really wanted to add a few more splotches. So I'm squeezing the water into the pan and then grabbing some color. And then as I'm putting this down on the paper, I'm also squeezing the brush a little bit. So the color of the pigment is diluting. Do you see that? Play around with it. Don't feel like you have to have it look a certain way. Keep your expectations tamed because it's never going to look exactly as you picture it. Well, it might. It might. But if it doesn't, don't give yourself a hard time because you can create something out of it. So I wasn't planning on connecting those, but it seemed to work. So you got the orange flowing into the yellow. Mixing colors is really fun. Now, I'm just going to add some dots. I was going to do a little splatter, but I don't want to get on the picture and I'm too lazy to go get a sheet of paper to cover up the area that I don't want to get paint on. So I'm just adding these little marks that might look like splotches or splashes. You know, when you do that technique where you tap the brush and the paint kind of goes everywhere. It's a very Vicky Boutin technique, I think. And I think it's super fun, but I wanted to replicate part of it, but not really actually tapping the brush. So I'm very intentional with those marks, but I also want it to look sort of messy. I hope that makes sense. Now, this is where I can show you the technique perhaps of the splotching or splashes of color that I want to put down. So here I am very free with the water and free with the paints and kind of mixing up a color and seeing how it turns out. And so what's nice about this is that you can add the water down to the palette, and then put more water onto the page. You can squeeze your brush and just have fun with it. Let go a little bit. You can do this on all the pages if you wanted to, but you will get a little bit of warping from the watercolor and the water. I don't personally mind it. I like the look of it. I don't get too concerned when it warps just a little bit. It gives a little bit of texture, and this is what I was talking about. So here are the tapping dots and the splotches or splashes of color. See my table? I did not put a Tim Holtz mat down, did I? That's okay. I'm going ahead and adding a few more, and you know what? I'm going to turn this because it reminds me of a heart. So let's make a little heart out of this. And I like the fact that it's not perfect. It's an imperfect heart. And the shape of it is just coming together slowly. This is not how I would have normally done a heart if I had planned it from the beginning, but as I was doing it, it felt right. You have to go with that. When you have a feeling that it feels right, you just got to go with it and see what happens. I love how this is coming together. I like how it's flowing. I'm going to mix in some more color here and just see what happens. It's pretty fun. It's a pretty cool process of just adding these splotches. And this is going to become, I usually do love lists for books, and I enjoy making these lists, but instead this Loving Life sticker seems perfect. So I'm going to add that here. And then I want to just add some flower clusters to bring in some color. And what I'm going to do is take the pattern paper that says favorite with the popsicles, and the title of this spread is going to be Our Favorite Things Right Now. And I wrote in parentheses, besides Juniper. I thought about writing besides Juniper because really she's at the top of everybody's list. So this is the piece that I was talking about, and I'm just going to cut under favorite so I have a bit more room. I can save the popsicles for something else. Seeing where the placement goes and really feeling free with this whole process of embracing how it's going to come together. I wasn't actually going to put a picture on this page. I was going to fill it up with writing. But hey, I think it's okay to adjust and wing it as you go and see what unfolds. So, our favorite things right now, switching pens, parentheses, besides Juniper. Oh wait, I found this magazine cutout. I got distracted. I looked at my table and I realized that it wasn't fully dry. So I wanted to wait until it was fully dry. Now I'm going to take the magazine cutout and spread it across both pages. Beautiful, inside and out, just like you and your book. Speaking of, let's do the cover now. Let's go ahead and embellish with these mini puffy stickers. I usually wait to add any dimension to the book after I'm done with all the pages. But you know what? Rules are for breaking, or at least bending. And guess what? These little stickers won't add too much dimension that you can't do something later inside your book. So choose the ones that you want to use. I love this black camera, and I love these lovebirds. These puffy stickers are so adorable and so fun and perfect for the cover, and you can put them throughout your book too. If you don't mind your book being a little chubby and having some width to it, I don't personally, I don't mind it, then you can add it throughout as well. But I do recommend finishing all the journaling that you want to do in case you have something that makes you write a little funny on the page because something's behind it. So that is good for the puffy stickers. And next I want to play with some stickers and see what else I want to add. This little vine here, it's like an olive leaf branch. I'm adding it right here on top, sort of placing it on the heart and onto the red part. and then grabbing some other elements just to play around with how I want it to maybe look. There are so many little bits that I wanted to include. I love this family fun for the cover, but I think it's a little bit too much, and so I decided to not use it and simply grab some other stickers that I can play around with. See how perfect that would be? I like it, but then I just changed my mind and I was trying to figure out something else. I wanted it to look slightly cleaner because I like the bottom of that red piece with the little tiny dots. I know it seems insignificant, but I wanted to make sure that that was still included. So I do want to add these thickers, and you can add thickers throughout your pages as well in your book. Like I said, you might want to wait until you're done with all the pages, all the embellishing, all the journaling first. Mini books are a work in progress, and as much as I wanted to finish this entire thing in 2 hours, I hope that you got most of the pages done. I will show you a couple additional ones to finish it off, but I also wanted to do the same thing here where I put true story down and I'm spelling it backwards. But what I realized is that as I was putting down the letters, I wanted something to maybe ground the thickers instead of having them just float. So this gray strip sticker where it looks like it's polka dotted with white, sort of like washi tape, but it's a sticker. So I thought I would take off the letters and go ahead and make that gray strip go across a few of the hearts. So it's going across, like, let's say 3 of the hearts, but I won't know that until I put true story down, or at least the word story, spelled backwards, onto this part. Now you could definitely mix up the colors. I'm using the light blue iridescent. I love the treatment on these thickers, and it looks so fun, especially against the glittery background, which, you know, because you have the kit in front of you, you can see how beautiful the glitter looks on the thickers and on the cover, but in the video I think it's a little hard to tell. I'm so glad we're working with the same supplies. This is something that I am always overwhelmed with, and a huge part of what I'm missing is the actual interaction and you guys being able to show me what you're making in real time and how your project is unfolding. I love seeing it because I feel like there's so many great ideas that happen when we're in community and we're all together and we're making breakthroughs and discoveries. I'm going to stick the other piece of the sticker down here, taking the scissors and just lining it up with the edge of the cover and cutting it off. And I feel like there needs to be something there, so I'm going to add a few more elements on the cover because embellishing the cover is really fun to me. But while I have this gray piece, I want to go ahead and stick it down somewhere. And the nice thing is that because you can flip through the pages and work front to back, throughout, flip around, move around, I'm just sticking that on the back page, the back cover, so that I have sort of a, I guess, follow through of from the cover to the end. And throughout your book, you'll have those elements. But what I was saying about being together is that you all make these discoveries and it almost sparks other ideas. So I want to get that as close as possible. So when I go live and you guys have questions or anything, let's talk about what you discovered. And if you want to share any of your spreads, maybe you can, because I just love the idea of seeing what other people are making with the same exact supplies. That always blew me away. We all have the same items to use, yet we create completely different projects that are personalized and really special to each of us. So meaning each of you. And remember, your memories are unique, so your traveler's notebook should be too. I really hope that you've enjoyed doing your thing while seeing how this came together. There are a few more things that I want to show you. I want to share a little flip through because I thought I was recording and my memory card got full. I missed out on about, 10 minutes of footage, but I do want to share with you the result of that. And I apologize, but I don't typically record videos that are this long, and I guess I was just getting carried away, and the video did not capture the rest of it. So embellishing the cover, you can always save this for last. You can definitely add more to it if you feel like something's missing, but I just think it needs a little bit more leaves and that sweet sticker to finish it off. And to me, this is done. This is the cover, and I'm going to flip through and share with you what it looks like right now. Oh, hold on. Let's take a popcorn break. One of the things I'm most excited about, you guys got these awesome boxes. The popcorn. Let's see. Finally gonna eat it. Mmm. It's sweet. And it's pink. Fun. This was after I had done some recording and didn't realize that I lost the footage. I have rainbow nails now. So I got Apo to write in here, and it says, "I love you, Juniper," and she wrote it also in Chinese, which is so sweet. I love that it's a special little bit, and what I'm doing is I'm going to save some of the other pages for the other grandparents to write when they finally get to meet her in a few weeks. So I went ahead and added some favorites down: organizing our home, simplifying and streamlining, boba sunsets, our new neighbors, books, making them and reading them, eating together in the breakfast nook, still staying safer at home, Olga, and a good schedule for help around our beautiful home. So list little things, list big things, list the things that light you up. Your favorite things right now, it could be as small as drinking boba. This is an old photo that Cece sent us. Here's another idea. What you can do with the phrases is you can highlight the ones that really speak to you. And then there are just a few more empty pages that I'm going to take with us on our trip so that the grandparents can see this book, and they can also add some notes and memories into it as well. And I can't wait to show you what that looks like afterwards. I could have a separate book for it, but I think I really want to have this included in here, even though it's not about our home. I think I'm going to switch subjects. At least that's how I feel right at this moment. So that could change, but I will definitely keep you all posted and share a video flip through of the entire book when it's done. But this is the paper where you can go ahead and cut things out. You can highlight things. I love that you all will have a bit of my writing, and I hope you have enjoyed sharing this time together. I want to encourage you into an optimistic way of thinking about the future and how it is so bright and how there's so much to look forward to. And in your own lives, there's so much to cherish and be grateful for. So I thought about adding it here, but I really think it needs to be somewhere on this side with the sunset. But it could be a sunrise, right? But it's a sunset. Just wanted to share some closing thoughts and maybe insights as we wrap up. I want you to keep in mind that there's no wrong way to get creative, especially on these mini canvases. Although I have been using traveler's notebooks for many years, I'm constantly finding fresh ways to add my memories and mementos into these special keepsakes. You're going to find that too. Do I love every page I make? No way, far from it. In fact, I encourage you to not get so hung up on one particular spread or 2 pages in your book, because the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Don't get bummed by a single mistake or a page. What's really more important is the self-reflective aspect, as well as the process of creating and documenting your memories. Hopefully, you will, by the end of this class, have a collective book that holds not just photos and some journaling and bits, maybe some memorabilia, stickers, your favorite supplies, but hopefully you will have a deeper understanding of yourself and clarity on what matters most to you. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's these moments where you've overcome struggles. Remember that this is all a part of the creative journey. Your stories matter, you are amazing, and I love that you have spent this time with me. I really appreciate it. For this closing bit, I want to emphasize the idea of creating beautiful things in your life. So the last page says, let's keep infusing more goodness into our everyday. Let's continue to live with intention, curiosity, I wasn't sure if I spelled that wrong, boldness and light. Let's dream big and shine bright. So obviously it says create beautiful things on that piece of pattern paper, and I'm going to glue that down. I have another Traveler's Notebook class at amytangerineworkshops.com, and I want to offer a special incentive if you'd like to take the class for 50% off. And the code is CREATE and INSPIRE, all spelled out, no capital letters, so you'll get it for half off. And I want to share a little bit from the class that I wrote, because we do use Picnic in the Park supplies as well. I did a lot. You don't have to have a special kit or anything, but here is what I wrote. While I know that life isn't always a picnic in the park, I do believe that our stories deserve to be documented and shared. We can choose to plan a wonderful experience, packing our basket with ingredients for joy, positivity, and grace, hoping for the best and understanding that our thoughts shape our feelings, which lead to the actions we take, ultimately creating our results. The blankets we lay out can be soft and comforting. The happiness and joy you experience in this beautiful journey depends on the quality of your thoughts and your words. Permission granted to fully enjoy the wholeness of feeling both the sunshine on our faces and raindrops on our skin. Celebrate, cherish, record, and remember. Memories are timeless treasures of the heart. My basket, along with these pages, are full of light, love, happiness, and hope. So once again, thank you all for joining on this journey. I appreciate you so much, and I cannot wait to see what you all create. I hope you feel inspired to live your best creative life.